Well, we are almost at the end of 2025, a time to reflect on all the best things of the year. The best books, the best TV shows, the best music. How about the best podcasts? The podcasts that tell the story of Saskatchewan. Nothing beats someone telling you a story right into your ear. Podcasts are like friends. They keep you company, one conversation at a time. Whether that be a political podcast while walking around Wascana Lake, or learning about interesting people in Saskatoon while strolling the riverbank. I'm Leisha Grabinski, and while today I get to be with you as I host Blue Sky, I am also a podcast host, so I'm thrilled to talk about the best Saskatchewan podcasts of 2025. We want to know about your favorite podcasts of the year that helped you better understand this province. The thing about podcasts is you listen, and then you want to share it with a friend. So let's do that today. Tell us about a podcast that you think we should listen to. 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Well, I want to start with our producer today, Caitlin Schroep. She makes the commute from Lumsden into Regina daily, and so that gives her a lot of time to listen to podcasts. Caitlin, hello.
Hello.
So when you think about podcasts that help you better understand this place, what comes to mind?
Well, you asked me this question, and I immediately went back to a podcast that I listened to in 2020. It's called Finding Cleo. Mm-hmm. It's about a young Cree girl who was taken by child welfare workers from Saskatchewan in the 1970s, and then she was adopted into the U.S., and sometime after that, her family in Saskatchewan got word that she had actually been killed. So Connie Walker, who is also from Saskatchewan, helped her family find out what really happened to Cleo, and I remember I was driving back and forth between Saskatoon and Regina because I was starting my internship up in your city then. And I just remember crying in the car and feeling such a deep connection to our province and the people here. And I really thought that the way that that story is told, it makes you take a moment to think about what has happened in our country, how Indigenous families in particular have been impacted. And I know Connie Walker has a lot of great other work.
Yeah, and since we're talking about the amazing Connie Walker, who we're so proud to know is from Saskatchewan, I think the other podcast that she did that everyone really needs to listen to is Stolen Surviving St. Michael's, because this is Connie's most personal work, and it's the one that won her a Pulitzer Prize. She investigates and then also reflects on the abuses that her father experienced at St. Michael's Residential School. And Caitlin, just like Finding Cleo, it's a haunting story. And even just looking it up today, because it's been a while since I listened to that one too, so I went onto Apple to find it, and seeing that smiling face of her father when he was a child brought up a lot of emotions. And even though I can't remember all the details, I just know like what an impact that podcast had on me. And I would say it's a must listen for everyone who lives in Saskatchewan. Just like how you said, Finding Cleo is a story about here, and so is the one about surviving St. Michael's.
Anything by Connie Walker is a great listen to learn more about Saskatchewan or even just other Indigenous people across the continent. I know she's done some stories about people in the U.S. as well. Mm-hmm. But Leisha, do you have any other CBC podcasts that you've listened to lately that helped you learn something about Saskatchewan?
Yeah, there was this new podcast series called See You in Court, and they've got this incredible 2-part series on the story of David Milgaard and his mom, who really became a private detective. You know, as he was sitting in jail, she really advocated for her son, and then they both went on to advocate for people who had been wrongfully convicted. And I think a lot of people know the story of David Milgaard. I mean, this was a defining Saskatoon story. He was convicted of killing Gail Miller, a crime he didn't actually commit. And the death of Gail Miller rocked this city and province. And even though that was long before my time, I still drive by where Gail's body was found. And so it's a story that has stayed with us, and I think has had a huge impact on our justice system. And that's part of the reason why the podcast crew at See You in Court decided to tell the story of David Milgaard and his mom, because it really put our justice system under scrutiny. And there are still people in jail who have been wrongfully convicted. And so that work that David and his mother did continues. And so I want to share some of that podcast with people. Caitlin, I know you're going to start taking some calls because we really want people's suggestions today. So you're going to head on to the other side of the glass. The number to call to talk to Caitlin and to talk to us is 1-800-716-2221. We want you to tell us about the Saskatchewan podcast that had an impact on you this past year. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Now here's the start of See You in Court. The episode is called The Teen Convicted of Murder and the Mother Turned Detective.
It's the middle of the night. Well, early in the morning, really. And 16-year-old David Milgaard is on a road trip with some friends. They're headed west. First, they need to stop in Saskatchewan to pick up a guy they call Shorty. But on this night, January 31st, 1969, the weather is brutal. Minus 41 degrees brutal. There's ice fog. They get lost. Their car gets stuck on the ice. Things aren't off to a great start. On that same early morning, not far from where all of this is happening, a 20-year-old nurse's aide named Gail Miller is getting ready for her day. She's moved from her family's farm to a rooming house. She's living in town to pursue her career. One day she wants to care for babies. She puts on her white uniform, her black coat. It's still dark out as she leaves for the bus, but she never makes it.
In tonight's news, the police investigation into the Gail Miller murder continues. The 20-year-old nursing assistant was killed early in the morning on January...
It's a shocking crime, a young life lost, and no one can know it at the time, but this violent act will upend David's life too. I'm Phelan Johnson, and this is See You in Court, a podcast about the cases that changed Canada. Today, part one of the murder case against David Milgaard and how it shook the country's faith in our justice system.
That is some of See You in Court, hosted by Phelan Johnson, an two-part series that I would highly recommend. You can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Leisha Gravinsky. You are listening to Blue Sky on your radio, but a lot of you also listen to podcasts. I love podcasts. I listen to Front Burner and The Daily on the regular while I work out in the mornings. It keeps me up to date on national and international news. And for a long time, what was lacking were podcasts like Front Burner that were about local issues. And that's why a couple of years ago, CBC launched a new set of local weekly podcasts. This is Saskatchewan was born. And I'm so lucky to be the host of that podcast. When I was asked to be on the show today, the team wanted me to think about an episode that has stayed with me and that also really tells the story of Saskatchewan. And the one that came to mind for me is the story of Warren. It's an episode we called Why You Can't Solve Homelessness with Just a House. We did this episode at the very start of 2025, and sadly, the number of homeless people in the last year has just grown. And so the issues are still very top of mind. And when I think back to that episode, I think about how challenging and complicated it is to actually get someone a house, but then to keep them housed, that is equally challenging. Warren was considered a success story, and I was lucky enough to spend some time with him for the podcast. Take a listen. So, this is it.
Yeah.
Mind showing me around a little bit?
This is my living room. This is our dining room, but I don't have a dining table right now, so I threw my bed there.
Warren is 37. He's only lived here 3 months, but the place really feels like his own. He's got posters up, his 15-year-old daughter pops downstairs briefly to get a drink of water, and he's got a nice big TV right in front of the window. Getting this house was no easy feat for Warren. He had a tough childhood. He's been incarcerated, and when he got out, he had nowhere stable to stay. Warren's story might be able to help us understand what it actually takes to get someone a roof over their head. Warren lives in Saskatoon, a city with more than 1,500 homeless people. That number has skyrocketed in recent years, and we all see it. There are people sleeping in tents and under tarps all over the city. And it's no different in places like Regina, Prince Albert, or Lloydminster. The problem can feel overwhelming. So today on the podcast, what can we learn from one person's story? Warren's story.
So we've been happy to work with Warren. He's our longest serving crew member with us for a little more than 2 years now.
Aaron Timashik is Warren's boss at Build Up. It's a social enterprise model that employs people who are typically hard to employ. The goal is to help get people like Warren working instead of worrying about turning a profit.
I know Warren, right? Warren's been an employee with us for a couple of years. You know, we share a meal at our staff celebrations together when I visit the site and everything like that. So we know our team, we know our coworkers, and we do things with each other.
Kristen Toms is executive director of Quint. It's a nonprofit organization that helps people with housing and work. Build Up is one of Quint's programs.
This is Build Up Saskatoon.
Kind of a warehouse space, hey?
Warehouse,
Concrete.
shop.
Yeah, it's a workshop, right?
Everything we need to use that we use on sites, materials, tools, drywall stuff.
How often are you here?
I'm here mostly during the work week from 8 to 4:30.
Monday to Friday kind of
Monday
thing?
to Friday, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you came here?
Yep. It was very intimidating at first
Well, intimidating, I can understand. Why was it intimidating?
because it was an introduction to construction and it kind of felt like there's a lot of pressure.
Had you ever worked in construction before?
I've had past experience in landscaping and some carpentry in Regina.
Yeah.
I was working for a program called Me Wasasin, but they lost funding.
And how were people when you got here? Did they welcome you?
They were welcoming, yeah. There was just a different variety of people, all had different backgrounds. Yeah, just all different types of people.
Yeah. And so how long ago was that?
Over 2 years. I started on October 27th. Yeah,
2020?
2022.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And what has this work brought you? Like, what has it done for you?
Oh, it gave me new skills, fixing stuff for people. Taught me how to be more of a bit of a leader, more open to new things. Yeah.
On a podcast I host called This is Saskatchewan. That episode is called Why You Can't Solve Homelessness with Just a House. We offer 2 episodes a week. Wednesdays, we dive into one important story about Saskatchewan. And just some examples of recent episodes. Should out-of-towners pay more for swimming lessons in Saskatoon? Immigration cuts could force Lloydminster restaurant to close? Or inside Saskatoon's shoplifting crackdown? Fridays, we share our political panel with you, so you can find This is Saskatchewan on CBC Listen, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, do us a favor and hit follow. This is Blue Sky, live on CBC Radio 1. Call us right now and tell us about your favorite Saskatchewan podcast. We want to know what podcast helped you understand this province. 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Jason Burns is the host and creator of the Saskatchewan podcast. That podcast launched in April. It tells the stories of all sorts of runners in our province and events, from the Queen City Marathon to the Beaver Flat 50. Here's some of the podcast featuring Regina athlete Deanne Sellinger.
I did register for Cure for the Burr, and I did go 1 week after Darn was born.
Oh, wow.
So I walked one loop.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I feel like I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I walked one loop.
Yeah. Well, just that you were there. I remember that you were there.
That's always our thing with when we think of you. We're just like, she's just always there. Like,
I do a lot of events, yeah.
Yeah, you just are always there battling no matter what you're going through or what adversity you're facing. You just show up. So it's really inspiring for people.
I try to.
There you go. That's some of the Saskatchewan podcast. Jason Burns is the host and creator, and he joins us now here on Blue Sky. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
I love that episode with Deanne. Do you want to just tell us a bit more? I mean, she's at every single event, it seems, whether it's a running race or a triathlon. But what made you want to talk to her for your podcast?
I think when my wife was first getting into running about 10 or 15 years ago, Deanne actually coached her through the running room. They do some coaching, and my wife was training to do a half marathon in the Cayman Islands. So she just signed up for a run class, and they kind of hit it off. And as Melissa and I got into running, Deanne was always around, and we always found her really inspiring, and she's always just a person who's out there battling and competing and being friendly with everyone, and is just a really good role model.
Yeah, she is an amazing role model, and she's someone I want to be friends with now after listening to her talk about running for an hour with you. What made you want to start a podcast about Saskatchewan's running community?
Well, first and foremost, I just listen to a ton of podcasts from all over the world, and North America and Canada, obviously, and lots of them are focused on running, so I don't really expect, international podcasts to touch on Saskatchewan runners, but I just found lots of my favorite Canadian ones kind of, I don't know, that's just the way it is in Saskatchewan. You kind of get overlooked and nobody pays attention to you. And if, a Saskatchewan runner once in a while happened to be on a Canadian podcast, it was pretty much just like, oh, how do you train for mountain races when you live in a flat province? And that always has just annoyed me because, I always tell people there's 10 spots within 45 minutes of Regina where I can go get tons of vertical training. I mean, is it a mountain climb of like half an hour? No, but you can still get good training. So yeah, I just found it was always just like that question particularly always annoyed me. And then just at races, you tend to buddy up with people and chat with them. And most people I talked to always had such cool stories, and I just always kind of filed it in the back of my mind that someday I should maybe start a podcast and share these stories, and that's why I did it.
Yeah, and I think it's obvious that the running community in Saskatchewan is pretty tight-knit, because even going through the list of people that you've profiled on the podcast, it's lots of names that I recognize. Terrence Crosschild is someone we've had on Blue Sky before. He's a runner in Saskatoon. What are some of the stories that have stood out to you as you've put together the podcast?
I think just how it's kind of a running podcast, obviously, at its heart, but just how running factors into people's lives and make them like challenge themselves a little more, and just how it's kind of more about the community of people and the friends you make and the trips you get to take with your peers, and just that bonding experience. And so yeah, it's kind of, like I said, based in running, but running's just kind of a part of it. And just, stories. I've been really impressed so far. Like I always say, I have the easiest job doing the podcast. I just like hit record on an iPad, ask a few questions, and like all the guests I've had have been so amazing and so like willing to share their stories, like some real personal things, like people losing siblings or like trouble getting pregnant, and just all these really deep personal stories that people want to share to just maybe people out there listening that, if you want to get into running, you still can, whether you're facing adversity, and maybe that makes you stronger if you're running and challenging yourself. Then it kind of helps you with the rest of life's battles as well.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about one of the runners that you profiled? Like just mentioning one that lost a sibling. I think I know who you're talking about. Another Saskatoon person.
Yeah, Mandy Curry from Saskatoon had mentioned how she lost her sister in a battle with lung cancer. And it's a cool episode if anyone wants to check it out. And her telling the story will sound better than me, but basically it was like a year to the day that she ended up racing at UTMB, which is the one of the biggest trail races in the world out in Europe. And she got to run with a little bit of her sister's ashes around her neck, kind of to pay tribute to her. And she just says how when she's running, she always just looks for signs that her sister's still there with her, like a rainbow in the sky. And yeah, so that was really a touching story.
Yeah, touching indeed. How do you think hearing these stories has like shaped you as either a runner or just even as a person? Like what kind of impact has listening had on you?
Yeah, just personally, I would say I've really developed a deeper bond with the people I've had on. So when I see them later on, like in the summer at events and stuff, I just feel like a deep connection, being that, we've kind of hooked up and shared their story together. And so, yeah, that would be one way. And then just, I don't know, just kind of maybe bringing the communities from around Regina or around Saskatchewan together a little more. Like, not like it's ever cliquey or anything, but I know like of people now who are like, hey, I heard so-and-so on the podcast and I talked to them at this race and now we're friends. So it kind of gives people like maybe a little intro into becoming friends and acquaintances.
In one of the episodes, there was a joke about how in almost every episode, the Beaver Flat 50
comes
up. Do you want to just, because people may not know what that is. Like when I say Beaver Flat 50, right? Like what is that, and why does that come up in so many episodes?
I feel like it does because it's just such a amazing event and just such a challenging event. So yeah, basically the Beaver Flat 50 was started. This is going to be 2026 will be the 10-year anniversary, and brothers Warren and Jeff Dudar were getting into ultra running, and they would go to Montana and Alberta, BC, and do all these races. And they thought, how cool would it be to be able to kind of bring this atmosphere to Saskatchewan? And Warren lives just in Swift Current. So one day, just kind of as a fluke, he went out there to train at Saskatchewan Landing Provincial Park. And he just realized, wow, these hills are really steep, they're really rugged, and just kind of it grew from there. They just, Jeff and Warren would go out there and train, and they're like, wow, this is such a cool area. And yeah, so they started that in 2016, and it's they do a 50-kilometer race, 20-kilometer, 10K, and 5K, and there's a kids race as well. And what makes it so cool, I think, is just I think at first it was a little more Saskatchewan-centric, but now there's been people from Kansas, Montana, like all the provinces, and what I don't know, personally what I really love is seeing people come from other places just thinking it's going to be like a walk in the park, and they just get absolutely crushed by the course, because that's what makes it so awesome. Is just it's so hard, it's so difficult, it's lots of climbing, it's always hot, it's exposed, there's juniper roots, like it's just a real challenge. Like I've heard people who have done 50 milers in the mountains say that the 50-kilometer at Beaver Flat is a harder race than a 50-mile mountain race, just because, lots of mountain races tend to be runnable, where you're going to have like pack trail or really nice single track, and you can kind of get in a flow and run, whereas at Sask Landing, it's just kind of a constant battle. There's always something trying to like take you down. So I think just everybody going out there and suffering together makes it so popular. And then just what makes it really nice too is that you kind of go right in the park at the equestrian campground, and you're just in nature the whole time. Like you run on a gravel road for maybe 100 meters, and the rest of it is all just like animal trails. And in the valley, you don't see a ton of civilization. Like there's a couple farmhouses in the distance, and you can see like Diefenbaker Lake and the South Saskatchewan River. And yeah, it just makes it such a awesome place. And then like the atmosphere afterwards, like everybody hangs out and they have food and drink, and lots of people camp like for the whole weekend and make like a whole 3-day weekend out of it, sort of. So yeah, and I think that just just has really bonded the Saskatchewan community in running, and then also so many people now train there that, there's so many athletes going to events all over the world and just crushing it. And I think that course and just like that community support has a lot to do with their success.
Yeah, and just listening to you talk about it and knowing that was part of the reason you wanted the podcast was to help define what prairie running is. Like that's the sense I'm getting from you, is that it's not just flat. Like it's varied, it's hard, and there's community here that does it, that suffers together.
Sure.
Am I right? Like, is that what you're trying to do a bit? Is trying to come up with sort of like a definition, not just a definition, but helping us understand what the prairies are as you run this landscape?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Even before I was a runner, I've always been very passionate about Saskatchewan being underrated, and like just all the jokes about it being flat, and there's nothing here. And even in my 20s when I was just go hiking or snowshoeing or something and be up at a place like Narrow Hills or of course Waskesiu area and all over the place, or walking along the beach at Douglas Provincial Park, and you're like, wow, I don't feel like this gets enough credit. This stuff is all so nice and amazing, and the nice part is it's quiet and it's clean, and it's not super crowded or dirty or anything. It's so I've always been like that, like a big Saskatchewan defender, and now it's just taken into the running community.
I'm Leisha Gurbinsky. We've got a few Saskatchewan podcast hosts standing by to tell us about what they're creating and what stories they want to tell. But I want to finish up here with Jason Burns, who is the host of Saskatchewan. Jason, what do you love most about this medium of storytelling? Like, you could have done a video shoot. You could have done anything. But what is it about podcasting that you like?
I like the flexibility, I guess. I enjoy that I can just kind of record it, anytime during the week, and I don't have like a set day that it comes out. I kind of did at first, and then I realized it's not that important to, have it out every Tuesday, or not worth getting all stressed out about it. So yeah, I just enjoy that, and then I just like kind of, I have guests in mind, but I'll just kind of go with the flow of maybe whatever's happening in the running community. If there's an event coming up, or maybe somebody I just find out last minute did some amazing event somewhere, then I'll try to get them on the podcast while it's fresh. And yeah, so I think just the freedom, and there's no time limits, or if I have to edit a bit, it's very low key, and it's not like live where you kind of have to be on point and try not to make any mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So what stories are you looking forward to telling in 2026?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I would like to get maybe a few more runners, maybe not from the big cities like Regina and Saskatoon. I mean, my listenership kind of breaks down like it's 50% Regina, 20% Saskatoon, 10% the rest of Saskatchewan, 10% Alberta, and then 10% kind of the rest of the world. But I would like to connect with a few more. I know there's runners out there, from Weyburn, Estevan, Prince Albert, places like that I've noticed that haven't had a ton of listens yet. So I just want to just make the community even bigger.
Yeah. What opportunities do you think podcasting has brought you?
That's a good question as well. I guess I did interview that Christian from the Trails of Toba a couple months ago. He runs some trail running events in Manitoba. So I had him on the podcast just knowing that lots of Saskatchewan runners like to, go to Manitoba and race. So just to give some people some more options. So yeah, I guess I'm going to go do a race out there this summer that I haven't done before. So I guess that would be one of the things that's opened up for me.
Yeah. So I do think that as we say goodbye to 2025 and we're looking ahead to the next year, a lot of runners, a lot of people just start setting goals and they're thinking about their race plans for the year ahead. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have not run before. Maybe they want to crush a longer distance. What would you say to someone who maybe hasn't discovered your podcast yet? They're into running. Why should they listen to your podcast? What do you think they'd get out of it?
I think what they would get is just that kind of anybody going through whatever kind of job you have, whatever your family situation is that if you want to make it work and put in the work and, travel to events and push yourself, you can do it. Like we have guests on who've worked shift work. We have people who are retired. We have people with like really young families, and everybody just hearing their stories and the way they navigate through life and make time for what's important to them, I think is very good.
Yeah. Jason, it's been awesome talking to you. Don't go anywhere. If you can stay till 1 o'clock, you're going to meet a couple of other podcasters and we may come back to you in a bit. But it's been a real pleasure speaking to you today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Jason Burns is the host and creator of the Saskatchewan podcast. You are listening to Blue Sky live on CBC Radio 1. Today we're asking you, what is your favorite Saskatchewan podcast? How did it help you better understand this place? 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. YXC Underground is hosted by Eric Anderson. He released 22 episodes this year, all about the people of Saskatoon who are making a difference in their community. Here's some of the episode featuring Brennan Mills from Saskatoon Fire and Flood.
This machine in here is a large commercial laundry machine. So Nesporta is technology. It was more created for cleaning hockey gear, helmets, skates, whatever. But we use it now for fire claims, sewer claims, like anything, well, not everything, but most things that are affected, we can process in this facility.
Welcome to Saskatoon Fire and Flood. It's a Friday afternoon and Brennan Mills is showing me and my photographer, Rana Andres, around the building. It's a really impressive space full of tools and equipment designed to help people recover from an incident such as a house fire.
I can remember a claim as a kid helping a client through. Do you remember POGs? Oh my goodness. So I can remember working on a fire and these kids had POGs like you've never seen POGs. And so our crew was tasked with cleaning thousands of POGs. So if you ever picture, those are cardboard, even worse, but part of the process with an insurance claim is what's worth saving and what's important to you and what can we do, what can't we do, how do we handle these things, and that's where it ties into how intricate or delicate a claim can be, right? Everybody's different, and maybe they don't care about POGs anymore, but Lego's another example.
I feel lucky to say I have never had to call on Brennan and his team for their help. In fact, Brennan was not on my radar for podcast guests until his colleague, Candice Chakowski, nominated him through the YXC Underground website this past summer. Her email was compelling, and it really got me thinking of how important communication is in Brennan's line of work. Here is a portion of Candice's email that really connected with me and got this episode in motion. Brennan was born and raised in Saskatchewan's construction industry. He knows this work inside and out, but what makes him different is his ability to see the human side of it. We deal with people going through some of the hardest days of their lives, fires, floods, and major loss. And Brennan never lets us forget that we're not just fixing buildings, we're helping people get their lives back.
That is podcast host Eric Anderson, who's with me here in our Saskatoon studio. Eric, hi.
Hi, Alicia.
I loved listening to that again.
Thank you.
You know, here that episode is great, but here's what stood out to me. Brennan had difficulty talking about himself, and because you profile people who are doing amazing things in the city, and he was like a bit reluctant and kind of shy.
Yes.
How often does that happen to you?
It happens a fair bit. It's sort of the nature of the podcast. It's like they're underground, so the it's not like they're self-promoting and they're going on social media saying, "Look at the great job I'm doing." They're doing the work because they love doing it. They're passionate about it. They know that it's making a difference on some level, so they love doing it. And then all of a sudden, this guy shows up and puts a microphone in their face, like, "Tell me about it."
Yeah.
So it can take some laying the groundwork in terms of emails back and forth. But in Brennan's case, like, it was his colleague that sent this email to me, and then Brennan didn't know until I emailed her back and said, "Let's do it. Like, your email was awesome. I'd love to learn more about what Brennan does, what Saskatoon Fire and Flood does." And then the first time I met Brennan was when I showed up with a microphone, and he took me for a tour. But he was really wonderful, and it was, I think, a really great example of someone sharing what they're really passionate about. And I loved what Jason was saying too earlier in terms of, like, when you find someone who's passionate about what they do, that they don't really have a big problem talking about it, because it's something that they love to do. And I think once you get over the because it can be intimidating with a microphone in front of you, and whether it's live or not, you're putting yourself out there. But I think for this podcast, once I let them know, like, "Hey, I'm just going to ask you questions about what you love to do, why you're passionate about it," then we're sort of off to the races after that.
And how often do people suggest folks for your podcast? Because that's what happened with Brennan.
Yes.
You read that email there.
Yeah.
Is that typically how you get your guests?
It's no. But it's happening more, which is really great. So the podcast, this is the 8th season now.
Wow,
And so when I started this in 2018, we put the nomination page on the website, and there would be a few people, but actually it was mostly comedians who would say, "Hey, I've got a new comedy disc. Can I be on your podcast?" And I'm like, that's not really what the podcast is about. So I would usually forward them to Peter Mills on the afternoon edition, to be honest. But it's happening more, and I feel like word of mouth is spreading more about the podcast, and so I'm starting to see more of those nominations, which is really, really wonderful, because finding the guests is the hardest part of this podcast, because again, you've got to do some digging to find out who these people are, and then once you find them, or maybe find an organization, then laying the groundwork of, like, okay, I'd love to do a podcast about you. How do we go about doing it? So yeah, it's a lot of work.
And you've been very deliberate to profile positive stories. Like, everything that YXC Underground does is to uplift.
Yes.
And to remind people that there are folks in the city who are working very, very hard to make this a better place.
Yes, that was something very important to me, because when I worked for CBC Radio for years, I loved telling those stories. But we also know too that there are the harder stories that we have to tell as a public broadcaster, as any news organization. But I always found a lot of joy within telling those positive, uplifting stories. And so when I started the podcast, I wanted that to be a focus. Like, I can do an episode a month where it's like I'm focusing on someone who's doing really great things in Saskatoon, but is flying under the radar. So yeah, that's been a big emphasis.
And how is it resonating in the city? Are you out and about getting recognized, Eric Anderson?
Oh, you're smiling. Once in a while. Sometimes it's at when I'm grocery shopping at Sunday morning, and maybe I'm not at my best. But yeah, it is a little bit now, which is kind of neat. But again, it's not like that happened overnight. This has been, we're 8 years worth of work to build up that listenership, and I'm sure Jason could talk about that too, in terms of it takes a while to grow an audience. I had to laugh when he was talking about he doesn't get too stressed about the release dates for episodes. Yeah. I get so stressed out about that, because I think, well, I've got to every second Thursday, Alicia, of every month, I've got to get an episode out, and because that consistency is something that I take a lot of pride in, and I think is important too. Like, as a listener podcast, I this morning, for example, I woke up and my favorite podcast, sports one, is called 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman. It's a hockey podcast, Hockey Night in Canada. I know new episodes come out Monday morning and Friday morning, so I get so darn excited, because I know
it's the day.
It's the podcast day. So I put pressure on myself to get it done. But like Jason said, at the end of the day, if it comes out maybe on the Friday or Saturday, like the world's not going to end. So But
Let's bring Jason back for a second instead of just talking about him. Jason, I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on this. Like you said, you want to take the pressure off yourself. You're not dropping them all the time. But are you, like, how aware are you of the number of listeners you have? How much are you trying to grow that listenership? Like all that side of things.
Yeah, I definitely check my stats often just to see how it's growing and see where people are listening from. And then my thing with not being too under stress about putting out episodes on the days, because lots of my friends and kind of acquaintances listen to the podcast, and sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, I'm 2 or 3 episodes behind." They're almost like they're complaining if I put it out too much. So
there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, and even like I was going to put out a couple more in December, but people were just busy, and I couldn't really hook up with anybody, so I haven't done one since December 7th. But yeah, I'm still, people are still going back and listening to the most recent one, and I really like just looking at what episodes get listened to just randomly. Like one from June got like 15 listens this week, and I don't really know. I mean, that's not a huge number.
Because they're sharing it with a friend.
Yeah,
one person listens and they share it with a friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that happens sometimes too, because Jason, I'm like you. I look back and see what older episodes people are listening to and what's maybe connecting. And it is interesting to see. And Alicia, I think you're right. It is that I still think the best word of marketing in terms of podcasting is the word of mouth and letting, it's a friend who you trust and is like, hey, give this a listen. I think that goes so much more than, if you spend $20 trying to boost a post on social media or something like that. Yeah. I think having that word of mouth makes a real difference.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping people tell us about a podcast that they've listened to this year that they want to share with a friend. Eric, just one more question for you before we introduce people to one more podcast. What do you think you've learned about the city? I asked Jason how it's changed him, shaped him, like doing this for 8 seasons.
Oh, yes. I think the biggest thing is that just how really connected Saskatoon is as a community. I've done episodes. I wrote it down. Like I think of organizations, like I've done episodes on the Friendship Inn, YWCA, Out Saskatoon, Quint Development, and even Saskatoon Fire Department in regards to homelessness in the city, and that's throughout 8 years. And you realize that everyone is working together to tackle something like this, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. But what I hear from these organizations too is that wasn't always the case. Everyone was kind of in silos and working separately. But if you just work together and pull in the same direction, then you can get really positive outcomes. So I think that's my biggest takeaway is that just how interconnected Saskatoon is.
Okay, well, it's so great to have you here, Eric. You can stay put. Okay. Don't go anywhere. But we are going to introduce people to another podcast. That is Eric Anderson. He is the host of the YXC Underground podcast. You're listening to Blue Sky. What is your favorite Saskatchewan podcast of 2025? What's an episode or podcast series that taught you about this province? Call us right now at 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Our next podcaster is fairly new to the game. Jordan Lewis is a teacher who decided to start her real lives of Sask wives while on maternity leave with her second baby. Here's a snippet.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Real Lives of Saskwives. Kind of sounds like Sasquatch, doesn't it? I don't know. No? Okay. Anyways, I'm your host, Jordan Lewis, and this is episode 1. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for being here. I was laying in bed wide awake the other night, thinking to myself, what could I do to spark the creativity in my life? For a little bit of background, I'm a mom of 2. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 8-month-old son. So I am in the latter half of my second mat leave. And as some of you may feel, mat leave can be a little bit tough on the brain in the sense of there's not a lot of stimulation happening. So anyways, I'm laying in my bed and I'm thinking to myself, what could I do that would create some creativity in my world and spark some joy?
And so Jordan started a podcast and she joins us now on Blue Sky to share a bit more. Jordan, welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, I listened to that whole episode and it was like you were just talking to me and your voice was soothing and I learned a lot about you. So I really enjoyed that introductory episode. Why don't you tell us about the moment where you knew you needed to start this podcast?
Sure. So I actually had a health scare come up when I was 2 months postpartum with my son. And after having surgery, I actually found out that I have thyroid cancer. And rather than sinking into the negativity and the spiral in my brain, I decided, you know what, I'm going to channel this into something positive and something fun. And so literally like the next day, I picked up my phone, I turned on voice memo, and I recorded the episode you listened to and just put it out there. And it was received really well. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to continue this and I'm going to have fun with it. And it's grown and it's fun and it's great.
Wow. But Jordan, you didn't say that you were diagnosed with thyroid cancer in that first episode, did you?
No, I didn't. I just said, I was looking for some creativity and some joy. I didn't really dive into it. I thought, you know what, eventually I'll maybe get there, but I didn't want it to turn into, again, I didn't want it to be a pity party, right? I wanted it to just be something fun for people to listen to. And I thought, you know what, maybe eventually I'll dive in, but I wasn't ready quite at that time when I started.
So have you since? Have you talked about it on the podcast?
No, this is actually the first time I've shared with my listeners. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So has it brought you joy? Has it fulfilled what you were looking for?
Sure. I've found with my maternity leaves, I've felt very isolated, and you have to completely rebuild your community because you're not going to work anymore and you're not necessarily seeing the same people. And I have found with my second one, it's been even more of a struggle because to get 2 kids out the door instead of just 1 is definitely a challenge. So this has kind of brought a community in the sense of the social media piece. I have lots of moms that have been connecting with me and lots of wives too in Saskatchewan saying how they feel heard and they feel they have a little bit of respite in their day that, yes, their kid spills things all over the house too, and they're constantly cleaning the messes.
So, okay, tell me more about the reaction that you get if you have created that community and there's people saying, yes, that happened to me too. Like what has that community brought you?
Definitely a lot of confidence in what I'm doing. When I first released it, I thought, well, I don't know, like, is this going to take, is it not? Is this like a universal experience of being a mom and it being crazy, or is it not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a universal experience, isn't it?
For sure.
Yeah. So how are you doing health-wise? Like, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. So actually, when I was supposed to have my surgery, we didn't think it was cancer at the time. My biopsy came back inconclusive. And so my surgeon was really hopeful that it wasn't going to be cancer. So it was actually quite a jump scare when I did get my results back that it was cancer. And so for now, I just have to monitor, which is great news, but still scary to be 32 years old and have a brand new baby and be going through this crazy health experience.
Yeah, I'm a bit speechless, to be honest. That's a lot, Jordan. When you look at 2026 and you've got that's weighing on you, but you also have this project that's sparking joy, what are the things that you want to talk about in 2026?
Yeah, so it's been definitely a learning curve of what people are interested in and what I'm interested in talking about. But I'm really looking forward to having lots of guests on my podcast. And I've kind of started the interviewing and bringing on moms and wives in Saskatchewan who either have like a flourishing career and they're also a mom, or they're really loving being a stay-at-home mom, just kind of here, there, and everywhere. I'm going to have one of my actually grandma's friends who wrote a book, and she's going to come on and she's going to talk about how things have changed since she was raising kids. So there's just so many different avenues to explore. I'm really excited to just go kind of everywhere, really.
And what do you like about the medium of podcasting? Why podcasting?
Okay, well, I'm a super type A mom. So like I'm looking, my fridge is to my left here, and I have a schedule for me. I have a schedule for my 3-year-old. We have our meals planned for the week. So with podcasting, I can be super regimented. I can have like 5 episodes backlog and ready to go and not feel the pressure. For example,
I think that's why I like podcasting too. It's so you can be so organized in advance.
Totally.
It's not this live thing.
even this illness that has spread through our province in December was so stressful because I only had 2 episodes backlog weekly. So I'm like, okay, someone's got to get better here so that I can actually record something. And so one of my episodes, I said, okay, everybody back up. My kid's sleeping. The other one's watching TV. We're going to just quickly record an episode here and it's going to be what it's going to be because what else do you do? That's motherhood.
Yeah, it is. So are you paying close attention to who's listening? How many people are listening? Do you think about that side of it?
I mean, I do to an extent, but I also have had a conversation with my mom lots about just being authentic. I don't want it to sway me too much of what direction to go into because I do want it to feel authentic to me and to feel fun.
Yeah, and I think you seem to be accomplishing that. Eric's like just turned on his microphone. He wants to say something to you, Jordan.
Jordan, can I just say I wish you had told me that about 6 years ago, because I cared so much about the numbers in the first couple of years, and then you reach a point where you're like, well, I just want to do it because I enjoy doing it, and you enjoy sharing these stories. So the fact that you figured that out so early on your podcast journey is, that's why I turned on my microphone because that's really amazing.
Yeah, good on you, Jordan. There are a couple podcast suggestions I'll just quickly throw in here before we're getting close to the end of the show, and I want to make sure that people get to spread the word about the podcasts that they like. So we got an email from Susan who says, Beyond the Task, a podcast created by the Northeast School Division designed to spark professional growth and strengthen community engagement. Each short episode features educator insights, classroom strategies, and local voices, making it easy to learn on the go or share in PLCs and staff meetings. That's cool, Susan. And then we also got an email from Bonnie who writes, I found the podcast on Megan Gallagher to be really illuminating. So the story behind the murder, or at least trying to piece together some of the story. I appreciated how it tried to cross the great divide of us, good, law-abiding citizens, and them, evil drug dealers, how good people can get drawn into terrible things. Bonnie, thanks for mentioning that. That was a 5-part series that our colleague Candace Lipsky did for the This is Saskatchewan podcast, and so that is still in the feed. It's just a few episodes back. Candace did an incredible job, and it is worth a listen. I would say listen and share that one with a friend. Maybe that's how we should end things today, because we are coming up to the final bit of our show here. Do each of you want to take a second and recommend a podcast? Or Eric, you can start because I know you've got some recommendations.
Sure. Just a couple. And actually, one of them was Saskatchewan, so I'm so happy that Jason's here. I will say there's one called Let's Talk Outdoors, and that's one here in Saskatoon about recreation and education in the outdoors, which is really cool. And then my brother-in-law quickly told me one about a farmer in southern Saskatchewan. Is called Bunny Hug Farmers, and that's a relatively new one, came out in 2025, but it's a farmer. His name is Dallas. He has a co-host named Tyler, and they talk about all the challenges that come with farming. So
I like that.
Yeah. So, those would be my 2.
Okay, farming podcast. Jason, I'm assuming you've got a running podcast or 2 on your mind. Do you want to share a recommendation?
Actually, I'm the only Saskatchewan running podcast that I know of so far. So I'm a big Saskatchewan Rough Rider fan, so I really enjoy the Piffles podcast.
Oh, the Piffles, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly famous. It's kind of, billed themselves as the Saskatchewan fan podcast. So I just enjoy listening to those 3, kind of see what they observe and what they think of the team. And yeah, I do enjoy that one.
That's a good one to note. Jordan, do you want to share a recommendation? It could be local. It could be something else, something for the moms out there, whatever. What do you want to recommend?
Yeah, so actually a local podcast that I've tuned into every single episode is called Brio in the Box. And it's actually a gym in Saskatoon here called CrossFit Brio. And they talk kind of all things health, wellness, and it just gets a girl motivated to get her back to the gym. And then my one podcast that I listen to quite frequently is called The Toast, and it's Monday to Friday. So it's for the mamas who are at home and need something to listen to every single day. That one is great, and it's great respite, but also listen to mine too.
Okay, yes. Yes, we'll listen to all these ones. And then just quickly, maybe 30 seconds each, does the future feel bright for 2026 when it comes to podcasting? Because it's been a few hard years, good if you're Amy Poehler and you've got, lots of followers on Instagram, but maybe not so good for smaller podcasts. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I think the future is bright as long as I think you have proper outlook on things, and maybe don't get too hung up on the numbers or how many downloads you're doing. But if you are passionate about what you're doing, there is an audience out there, whether it's local or whether it's beyond Saskatchewan. People are listening, and so that's something I've learned about. So I think the future's bright.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm like a fresh little baby in the podcast world. So the future is like gleaming strong right now. There's a lot to learn and there's a lot to do. So I'm really excited.
Oh, I love that. Jason, what do you think when you look at 2026? Is the future bright for podcasts?
I think so, yeah. I mean, people listen to so many podcasts every day, and I guess, all of us kind of have a bit of a niche audience and cater to like a certain crowd. So, yeah, I think I hope more people find. I always say my podcast is like, I don't think it's like huge numbers, but I know the people who like it like really, really like it. So I always compare myself to like an indie band, or if, small audience, but real passionate. So yeah, people come up to me all the time and really like it. So my future, hopefully with my podcast, is can get even more people on board. And I do think there's lots for them to listen to. So.
Well, Jason, you're targeting people who are running for 2 hours at a time.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
they've got time on their hands and ears that need to be have something to listen to. This has been great, you guys. Thank you all so much. Jason Burns, host of the Saskatchewan podcast, Eric Anderson, host of the YXC Underground podcast, and Jordan Lewis, host of The Real Lives of Saskwives. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Leisha Grabinski, the host of Blue Sky Today, and also the host of the CBC podcast. This is Saskatchewan. Have a great afternoon.